Right, so what is stress? First, I want to define stress in terms of nutritional therapy. So stress is a non-specific response of the body to any demand. Acute stress is an alarm reaction and recovery will follow quickly. And this type of stress is almost a good thing for the body to experience. The speed of recovery is an indicator of the health status of the individual. And as a general rule, adrenaline will be released in this situation. But we're actually looking today at chronic stress. So chronic stress or distress is a constant repeated stress and there is no recovery. It impairs our immune response and it's detrimental to our general health. And this response is dictated more by cortisol than adrenaline. So the way we respond to stress is really highly individualized and the nature of our response dictates the degree of stress experience. It's really, really subjective and personal. So cortisol is a hormone and it's made in the adrenal glands. So adrenal fatigue is a common term in holistic medicine and it refers to a person who is under so much chronic stress that their adrenals are overworked trying to pump out sufficient cortisol. And this will cause severe imbalances throughout the whole nervous system. In a healthy individual, cortisol fluctuates over the course of the day. And the levels are going to be highest in the morning to wake us up and give us our get up and go for the day. And this is why having a daily routine and a consistent wake and sleep time is so crucial to our stress response and our overall health. Cortisol works with other brain neurotransmitters to control our mood, our motivation, and our energy levels. When cortisol production is optimal, the hormone will help to control inflammation and blood pressure, and it will give us an energy boost when we need it. And it also helps to regulate our sleep and wake cycles, which is our circadian rhythm, which is our internal body clock. And that's so important to our general health and well-being. However, when we've got too much cortisol, it will increase glucose production and the movement of glucose around the body. So we've already talked this week about blood sugar management and why it's really important to manage our blood sugar and our insulin. So you can see that if you're somebody that's under chronic stress all the time, this could actually impact the way that your body can manage blood sugar and insulin. Excess cortisol can also affect the reproductive system. So it can reduce the release of hormones that will trigger ovulation. And so it stops the body switching from estrogen to progesterone dominance. And we talked about this last week with menopause symptoms and estrogen dominant conditions like endometriosis. So if you think about somebody that's chronically stressed all the time, and if they're not ovulating and therefore not producing enough progesterone all the time, this is actually really going to affect all their female hormone balance as well. Cortisol also increases the breakdown of protein from muscle, and it causes the body to accumulate fat around the belly. It will also inhibit the thyroid, which is the hormones that deal with metabolism. So if you're trying to burn the food that you're eating for energy, if you're highly stressed and therefore your thyroid isn't functioning as efficiently as it could, that can also cause weight gain. And then also excess cortisol will inhibit our immune system. So it just makes us more susceptible to things like infections and illness. So when and why does the body produce too much cortisol? So the truth is that our modern daily life is a perfect storm for stress and cortisol imbalance. And our lifestyles are so busy, we have less downtime, less time in nature, more exposure to toxins and poor quality food. So it's really important that you understand the implications of our modern lifestyle on our stress and our health. So even though it's not always something we're consciously aware of, our body is constantly, every day, fighting all this stress going on inside. So here are some signs to look out for that may indicate that you've got imbalanced cortisol or excess cortisol and stress in the body. So things like insomnia, lack of pleasure in life, decreased libido, difficulty concentrating, difficulty waking up in the morning, fatigue, and PMT. So what causes stress on the body, which will in turn impact our cortisol production? So the main and first one is inflammation. So a certain degree of inflammation in the body is a good thing because it drives rebuilding and repair and it helps us to fight infections. However, excessive low-grade, unsupported inflammation in the body has a very negative impact, particularly on our cortisol production. So what drives chronic low-grade inflammation? Things like allergens in the food and the environment, poor blood sugar balance and insulin management. So again, talking about our diets as we have this week. Toxins from the environment. Again, this has come up quite a few times over the plan, but the toxins in our food, our cosmetics, our home cleaning products can all impact the body by causing stress. Nutritional deficiencies will inhibit the body's ability to repair and to protect. So again, having a good quality diet is really important. Malabsorption will cause stress on the body because if you're eating all these nutrients but you're not actually absorbing them, that can also cause a lot of problems. And malabsorption will be caused by gut issues. So if you haven't got a healthy gut flora, that will affect the absorption of nutrients. Oxidative stress, which is caused by free radicals. So these are produced constantly in the body all the time, but with our modern toxic lifestyles, we've got excessive free radicals in the body. So this just causes so much more oxidative stress. What's going on here? Right, and so then you've got trauma. Actually, I don't really need that. Cut all of this. So another thing that can drive cortisol in the body is obesity. So carrying excess body fat will put extreme stress on the body and drive insulin resistance. So when we're not balancing our blood sugar properly with insulin, this can lead to diabetes, which we know now how everything is connected. And we saw in previous videos how body fat as well, this adipose tissue can really influence the release of hormones and other chemicals that will impact our hormone balance throughout the body. So obesity is a really big driver of stress and cortisol in the body. And then trauma. So they're different types of trauma. You've got physical trauma such as disease and accident, overexercise, even disordered eating. And so these will push cortisol levels up. So even if you're somebody that is generally not stressed and you're generally supporting your body as much as you can, occasionally there's going to be times in life where you just need a little bit of extra TLC to stop this cascade of hormone imbalance from occurring. And then you've got things like emotional trauma, which will encompass anything from like an obviously emotionally traumatic event like a bereavement or a divorce to something more subtle. So sadness that drags the emotional state down, depression, loneliness, isolation, lack of purpose, stress at work, trying to balance the work-life balance. All these things can influence the nervous system and therefore they can affect our hormone balance. Right, so I think I've stressed you out enough talking about how stress will affect our bodies. So now we're going to look at ways to support healthy cortisol levels and therefore healthy stress responses in the body. Right, so the first thing that you want to do is have a set routine for waking and sleeping and to get some natural daylight as soon as waking up as possible. And this is really important because what it's going to do is it's going to create a healthy circadian rhythm, your internal body clock. And this is important because your circadian rhythm will dictate your cortisol release over the course of the day. So you want to be waking up around the same time every day, and that's when your cortisol level will peak. And then you want to be going to bed at the same time every night to tell your body, right, now it's bedtime and everything will calm down again. In the same way, you also want to avoid blue light. So looking at your devices in a dark room at night will really disrupt the release of neurotransmitters that will induce sleep and therefore lower your cortisol. So by having lots of devices on and lots of bright lights in the evening, that can really impact your cortisol production, making too much cortisol at night when you really don't need it. Again, you want to be looking at removing toxins from the body. So we've discussed this in previous videos and we know how toxins can cause stresses in the body. So watch your ingestion of toxins from food and cosmetics and home cleaning products and support healthy elimination of toxins with fiber and hydration. You also want to avoid foods that will induce stress or overstimulation in the body. So things like caffeine, alcohol, sugar. Get outside, embrace nature. The release of endorphins from a walk outside is better than any drug for getting you de-stressed and reducing excessive cortisol in the body. So I also want to talk about exercise because obviously we know that exercise is really helpful, but you do really need to listen to your body's own response to exercise. So for example, maybe running is too stressful for your body and something like Pilates is going to be more appropriate. So you need to work out what exercise is the right kind of exercise for you. So some ways of doing this, just some indicators. So if, for example, when you finished exercising, you're particularly cold and shivery, that could indicate that actually the exercise wasn't really the right type of exercise for your body. It put too much stress on it. And also if you're putting fat on, body fat around your belly, again, this can be a sign of excess cortisol. So perhaps your exercise routine is just a bit too much and it's a bit too stressful for the body. So just change it up and do something a bit lighter and see if that helps. Finally, you also Really important. Have a purpose in life and a sense of community. Feeling isolated and having a lack of purpose are really influential on our mental health, and that will also affect your cortisol balance. So we're going to look a bit more closely now at nutritional support for cortisol balance. So the first thing is to look after your gut microbiome, your friendly bacteria. Again, we've talked about this lots over the last 2 weeks, but the main focus here is prebiotics. So you're feeding the good bacteria in your gut, because the good bacteria release all these substances that support the nervous system and induce the relaxing transmitters. And also prebiotics have been shown to reduce cortisol levels within about 3 weeks. So just reminding you, prebiotics will be things like legumes, oats, asparagus, onion, garlic, and bananas. You also want to eliminate sugars, because sugars will feed the wrong bacteria in the gut. And if you've got too much bad bacteria in the gut, that's going to put stress on the gut and cause problems increasing cortisol. You also want to reduce your trans fats and your saturated fats, because that will impact your cortisol, again, because excess body fat produces more stress on the body. If you suspect that you've got high cortisol levels, it's a few things that you could do is, number one, make sure you're taking on plenty of water, because cortisol is actually really dehydrating. So if you feel particularly stressed, it's a good time to take on extra water and make sure you're really well hydrated. Cortisol will also deplete our stores of magnesium, B vitamins, and vitamin C. So maybe taking a really good quality multivitamin will help, but also including foods like leafy greens, whole grains, and fruits and vegetables. And also magnesium, but particularly omega-3, have been shown to reduce the stress response in the body. So plenty of oily fish, avocado, olive oil, leafy greens, and seeds. And then finally, vitamin E. So vitamin E will protect the adrenal and reduce cortisol production. And it's also an antioxidant to help combat all the stress from the free radicals in the body. So vitamin E is actually quite a hard one to get in really high doses through food. Sources would be seeds, nuts, and green vegetables. But probably if you're looking to increase your vitamin E intake, you probably do need to do that with a good supplement. So this was the final video of the plan, and I hope by now that you've been able to form a good grounding and understanding of how you can support your hormones naturally through nutrition and lifestyle. I think that you can see there's many common foods and tips that have come up time and time again over the course of the 2 weeks, and the benefits of these are wide-reaching and fundamental to wellness. So I've created a very, very simple summary in 4 lines, just to give you a really succinct summary of what you should be having and aiming for. So number one, avoid processed foods and stimulants. 2, eat plenty of fresh whole foods, so plenty of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and fish. 3, limit your exposure to toxins wherever you can. And number 4 is just enjoy your downtime. Take time out for you. You know, it's not selfish to have time out and to spend time looking after yourself. It's really, really important to your general health and well-being. So I hope you've made some changes over these 2 weeks and that you're already feeling the benefits of those changes. Please keep going and build on this progress, making small steps in the right direction, but also listen to your body and know what's working for you. If you're ever in any doubt about your well-being, don't hesitate to check in with your GP. That's what they're there for. Check in with them or another healthcare provider if you're going to make some really drastic changes to your diet or lifestyle, or if you're looking to take any of the supplements that we've talked about over these 2 weeks, especially if you're taking any medication, because they can interact. So it is really worth checking this out with your doctor first. If you want to take a deeper dive into your health planning, or you want to learn more about managing your hormone, then of course I'd love to work with you as a client on one of my packages. So just to remind you that the packages include functional tests, personalized protocols, meal or recipe planning, and ongoing support and coaching. So of course, feel free to get in touch and we can have a chat about that. And finally, do get in touch if you've got any questions at all that have come up in this video, or any of the information that we've covered over the course of the plan. So thank you, really. If you found this 2-week plan informative and helpful, please recommend me to your friends and family. Make sure you keep sharing, liking, and commenting on my posts on social media, and keep in touch and let me know how you're getting on.